along.
Yeah, I like this rock and roll music. Hi everyone, this is Gina Trimarco, and you are listening to The Women Your Mother Warned You About. And we are so excited because we are live, not live, we are in a...
Well, we're actually live.
We're alive. We're alive. We're in a studio, a real live production studio with video and
and people behind the scenes.
People behind the scenes.
That know what they're doing. I'm not playing with any buttons. You're not touching any buttons, Keith Walters. I know you like buttons. There are no buttons today. We just get to show up. No buttons to get distracted with.
Do you know how exciting it is that I can show up and just be pretty?
Yes. And you do such a great job, Gina.
Aw, thanks, Keith.
You're welcome.
How are you, Keith Walters?
Incredible.
I'm so happy to lock you down because we, at this recording time, are in Dallas together.
Yes, we're in Dallas at Real News.
Real News.
Checking out the studio. This is an incredible place. If you're into podcasting and you haven't been by here, you need to come by here.
Or you want to create your own TV show.
Right.
Or you want a TV show and a podcast.
Or a show.
Or a show.
Yeah.
And
this is great.
And you're like, hey, can we have a studio, Keith? And then you're like, Keith, let's go tour it.
That's the idea.
And he reads between the lines.
Yes.
Because he understands women way more than I understand men. Clearly.
Well, we should mention that Rachel isn't able to be with us today.
Oh, yeah. Sorry,
Should we not mention that?
Yeah. Rachel, she couldn't be here today because she's not here.
Right.
Because we're in Dallas.
We're in Dallas. She didn't make the trip.
Well, she didn't have to. Yeah, this was not a...
This is unplanned.
This was...
Unscheduled.
Yeah, it was unscheduled.
Yeah.
Because I'm like...
And we miss her.
We do miss her.
And I have not been able to get her voice down, so...
You could try.
No, it's a
Just
disgrace.
Try. Yes, and
no.
me. Yes, and me.
No.
All right.
No, Gina,
Fine.
no.
Fine. Okay, that's fine. So, since I feel like you understand women way more than I understand men.
Or women.
Or women. This is true. Wow. He went there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had some homework assignment for this show, and you did some homework assignment review.
Yes, Mr. Walters, I did my homework. And I did it late at night, even though I'm in Dallas, and I was out late. I'm not talking about last night, I'm talking about the night before. I was out late, and I did my homework.
Good for you.
Should I tell everybody what my homework was?
Yes.
So, if anybody remembers the period episode, my favorite episode about menstruation, this was another one.
Let's not say we don't talk about touchy subjects.
This is another one of those moments where Keith is like, you know what we should talk about? You know what you should read? Just like when he made us read Pussy, a reclamation. Now he's like, you need to read Slow Sex. I'm like, that would require me to have sex.
Yeah.
So that you kept pushing on, read these 2 chapters. That's all I had to read was 2 chapters of Slow Sex, the book. And the 2 chapters, chapter 6 and chapter 7, what men should know about women and what women should know about men.
Yeah, and they're great. This is from a book, Slow Sex, subtitled The Art and Craft of the Female Orgasm. And it's by a woman named Nicole Dayton. And I don't even know if this book is still in publication, but it's about a technique of...
Wait, can you hold up the book to the video, to one of the cameras?
Oh, yeah, here's a camera. Here's a camera right here.
Isn't this cool to have a camera?
Oh,
wow,
my
God.
It's a camera. Look at this camera.
Look at that. That's like a real show.
Yeah.
It's a saucy cover page.
It is.
Okay.
And this is about a physical technique for stimulating female orgasm. But the lady who wrote this book...
I'm sorry, Derek. You're new to us. Sorry.
I haven't heard before.
Oh, good. Wow.
Yeah, Derek, if you need to chime in, feel free and save us.
So she is was, I'm not sure her status now, but she was a therapist, a sex therapist, I guess, and does couples therapy.
Okay.
And these 2 chapters in this book came from her doing couples therapy again and again and again. And in her couples therapy, one of her exercises is to have all the women get together and all the men get together and as separate groups, and the women have to come back 30 minutes later and teach the men what they should know about women, and the men have to come back 30 minutes later and teach the women what they should know about men. And what she noticed over a period of time was it was always the same things, class after class after class, that were coming up. And so she consolidated those into these 2 chapters. And I think these 2 chapters are great. They've kind of saved me
really?
a time or two.
Do tell.
No. And
You have been saying no a lot to me.
The Power of No.
The Power of No.
Episode 37, is that right? So, no, these are fantastic. And you had a chance to really go through them night before last. Mm-hmm. And what did you think?
I learned a few things.
Excellent.
And just for clarity, this doesn't have to be all about sex.
No, it's not at all. It's about communication.
Yeah, and in theory, the book is about communication and sex.
Right.
Right. But I think that there were some takeaways that can be about, in general, about communication.
And especially if you recognize that men and women communicate in different mechanisms, if you will, or...
Yeah, we do it right, and you don't.
Thank you, Gina. So...
I'm sure Derek would not agree with me, but...
So what do the chapter 6, this is chapter 6 and 7 out of this book.
Yeah.
And chapter 6 is what men should know about women.
Mm-hmm.
Did you agree with, there's 10 things in each of these chapters. Did you agree with the 10 things here that men should know about women?
Yeah, let me, I just kind of want to refresh myself. For women, so number 1, for women, everything is connected. Her body, her heart, her sex, her work and her relationships and her journey. Her world looks like a spider web with everything intimately tied to everything else. 100%.
Yeah.
It's all about these, and I think this is where women get in trouble in every aspect. Sorry, ladies. We're so complex in this web, right? Like, we're not black and white or linear. It's like everything plays together. So even if it's sex, and let's just say this is not the case, but what if, hypothetically, back in my younger days, let's say that, I want to really know you, even if I'm never going to see you tomorrow again. Mm-hmm. Like, I just met you, I'm not going to see you tomorrow. Hello, goodbye.
Yeah.
I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know where you were born. I want to know all of those things. Yeah. And then have sex.
Yeah.
And then say goodbye and never see you again. No, it's about that mental, emotional connection.
Well, think about it from in the workplace, not sex in the workplace, but communication in the workplace.
That would be wrong.
I guess it depends upon the type of company, but part of this to me then says that it's more difficult for women to compartmentalize if everything is connected. And is that the case? Because if there is in work, if there is a negative comment made, does that then become connected to everything else, or can you?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So
yeah, I think it's harder to compartmentalize as a woman. I can compartmentalize. It's really hard for me to do it, but I can do it. Yeah. And I think men are experts at it. Too much.
One of the other things in this list, going to number 3, is something we've talked a lot about before, and I think it's really one of the keys toward the discussions that we have, is that women will short order their desires. Women have been taught that good women tame their desires, don't even feel them, that pushing through our hunger is good and giving into it is bad. As a result, women will tend to short order her desires. And, we talk about that with the different women that we've interviewed on the show about owning what they want, asking for what they want.
Asking for what they want.
And, that's a big one, is asking for what you want. It's a really difficult thing. We've talked about, in some of Regina Thomashauer's Mama Gina's stuff, and then some of the other stuff, that it's a lot of training about simply how to ask for something. And that we did that no exercise, and we were joking about no a little bit earlier, but that's being willing to accept no is part of being willing to ask for things.
So much I want to say. Yes. So as women, we tend to be people pleasers.
Yes.
We've been raised to be people pleasers.
Yes.
We don't want to shake things up.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's the programming.
It's the programming. So if it's the work world, we want to make sure everybody's happy.
Right.
Despite what your personality style might be, right? Like you could be on the disc, you could be an S, and that would be normally your style.
Right.
But it doesn't matter because we're just raised to make everybody happy.
Right.
So from a work perspective, there's that. From a sex perspective, I think we've also been trained to be like, make your man happy.
Absolutely. Put that first.
And then
give me some coffee, will you?
Right. Right. And then you're so conditioned for that.
Yeah.
That you don't ask for what you want sexually, and you don't even know what you want.
Yeah. That's probably the bigger part of it is you don't know what you want because you're not yourself. You're not owning who you are, something we talk quite a bit about.
It's like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Oh, we can do that?
Yeah.
You can do that?
Well, take that back into the workplace, and we talk a lot about sales. If you mentioned, the women want to make people happy, that's not always what you want to be doing in a sales role.
No.
You need to be able to push. You need to be able to stimulate the conversation. You need to be able to, right. So this whole thing about...
I'm sorry, you're saying push and stimulating, and it's just sending me...
Don't short order your desires there. So
yeah, don't short order your desire. I think it's a practice to not do that, to not short order.
I do too, yeah.
And with some men, because they're also used to that, they don't know how to promote and inspire. And I think it talked about that somewhere in here. Mm-hmm. They don't know how to promote and inspire their women to ask for what they want. And I think it's said that in here somewhere.
Yeah, that is, I think, in here as well.
Something that men should be doing.
But you mentioned practice. What a great practice to write down your desires and write them down again and study them and make sure you're focused on them, your energy's out there about them. And then when it comes time, you can ask for them.
Right. So men, figure it out. Figure out what things women don't realize they should be asking for. Because you know what you're capable of.
Right.
And if you don't, maybe you should go read a book about it.
Yeah.
Of the things you can do.
Right.
Same in the workplace.
Yeah. What's kind of funny is if you take that and that fear of asking for desires and short ordering desires, and then there's another one in this chapter, number 5. What she really wants is access to your attention. So again, what men should know about women? What she really wants is access to your attention. But
100. That was probably the one that resonated with me the most.
Right.
That I don't think people in my life, significant others, were aware of how important that was. Number 1. Yeah. Number 2, I wasn't aware of how important that was to me.
Right.
I did that, the love languages.
Yes.
Right.
The 5 love languages.
Right. Yeah. And so mine came up with quality time.
Right. Quality time, number 1. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was like, what? Really? Quality time? I love affection. I love really quality time. And then I started to think about it. I'm like, I get anxious if you don't return a text within a certain time. I get irritated if I call you 6 times and you haven't answered the phone and it takes you forever to get back to me. And so that was a big one of having, I want access.
Yeah.
Because that feeds what I need.
Right. Yeah, there's a great statement in here. When we ask for things, it's because we've learned to accept them as a proxy for what we really want, but have never had access to. The animating, enlivening experience of having your full attention placed on us whenever we desire it. And, if there's any guys listening to this, look, this is 101. Pay attention.
Right. And I don't know why. I mean, you're a very evolved man.
Practiced.
Oh, practice. Okay. A practiced man, not an evolved man. But you invest the time into that. in every aspect of your life. I'm not just talking about how you deal with women, but as a leader.
Yeah.
Right? In your businesses.
What's important to me, I focus on.
Right.
Yeah.
For you, it's important to like focus on people and know how to manage people, inspire people. It's the same thing that you can apply to any relationship. And to get there, you read, you study, you go to workshops, you join Vistage, right? You have tools to make you better.
Right.
And you seek them out.
Yeah. And I would paraphrase that and make me better in doing that. So, if you track it back to where did all this programming come from? For guys, short attention span is a benefit. And so if you think about men being the hunters and women being the community, if I'm out hunting, I can't focus too long on one thing. My attention span has to be constantly scanning for danger, for what's going to interrupt, for all the other things that happen. And this is naturally, I do this as well. So it is a challenge for that heavy focus. And it's a little bit of it's a learned capability.
Right.
And it's understanding that it's important is the first step.
Well, it goes back to the same, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Right. So for men, like, they don't realize that maybe they're doing that, or they don't realize that they can learn that or practice that.
Right.
And when they do, some men are like, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'm not changing. This is who I am. I'm not changing.
Yeah.
Accept me for who I am.
Yeah.
And I'm like, bullshit. I'm different today than from yesterday.
Yeah.
It's bullshit. You can change. If you don't want to change, you're not going to change.
No, that's a desire.
I thought there was another. Oh, behind every woman's complaint is a desire.
That's a powerful one. That's a powerful one. Behind every woman's complaint is a desire. And then think about just the statement about the attention. So how do you translate that complaint into a desire? And this isn't just between conversations or communication between men and women or women and men. That could also be used in conflicts between women. What is the desire behind the complaint?
Right.
So how do you turn your attention to the desire away from the complaint?
Yeah. So in any relationship, if there's conflict and there's a complaint, I think about this with some of our clients too. We're working with a client, we shall leave nameless.
What's her name?
Not in Dallas, by the way. It's a really dysfunctional organization, and the employees complain a lot because they've gone through a lot of change, and all they do is complain about that. They complain that their jobs have changed and they don't. Now, I would say it's 50-50 men, women. But when you think about it in this respect, what they're saying is they're desiring to do things that they had been doing because they felt like they were good at it, because they felt like that was their contribution to their job. And so now that you've taken that away, they're complaining about it. And the boss is like, and actually I ran, I don't want to say too much, but I had an employee say this to me. And she's like, well, I said, have you tried to speak up? And she said, yeah. And I go, and what do your leaders say? That I'm just complaining and to stop complaining. I said, is that how you perceived it? Or did they actually say you're complaining? She said, no, they actually said you're complaining. And I went back to that leader. I'm like, so did you actually say stop complaining? She's like, I did. So how do you realize that there's a bigger issue?
Yeah, there's a deeper issue.
There's deeper.
Yeah.
There's a deeper issue. But I really like that one because it actually gave me insight into me.
Really? What insight? Do tell, Gina. What do I not know already?
Well, when I've complained in a relationship, some might call it nagging. If some were a man, I realized that my complaint, you don't do this and why don't you do that, was that was really my desire. So instead of complaining, I could have turned it and said,
and asked
or said, this is what I need. But again, sometimes that fires back on you because someone will be like, oh, here we go again. It's all about you, what you need, I, and that will shut a woman down.
And there's some interesting techniques to do those asks with.
You want to give an example?
No, not right now. I'm not prepared. No, it's some of the,
Are you okay?
I'm
You're
tongue-tied there.
You're turning red. Is he turning red on Derek? Is his face red?
No.
No.
It's the red lights in here.
Yeah, it's just the room.
It's just the room. The room.
Thank you, Derek.
The room is red. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to tackle another one?
What else?
There was another one.
So on that one that you just mentioned about behind every woman's complaint is a desire.
Mm-hmm.
There's the statement, did you say this? Women have been trained to get what they want. She says we want. She's a woman.
Yeah.
Women have been trained to get what we want by playing the role of a victim.
Yes.
Yeah, and then, that's a turnoff for anybody who's on the other side of it.
Yeah.
Is I don't want to hear about the victim.
Yeah. I found something, I think that was in that one. Fixing is what a man does when he can't figure out how to turn you on. No, that wasn't it. There was another one that I thought. It basically, a man is turned off by when you're in that victim mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can't remember where it is now, but it was about when you're over emotional and how a man can't deal with it and will walk away. And I was like, oh.
Yeah.
So this is actually a real thing for most men.
Yeah. It's a logic emotion type.
Yeah. So I was like, okay. It made me again think about myself and reflect on how often I have complained about someone not responding to my emotional reaction and how that hurt me.
Yeah. And what would you do now?
And then he didn't respond to that either. So I actually have, believe it or not, in the past 2 days, because this has been on my mind, I'm approaching a certain person differently.
Excellent.
I'm not showing emotion. And it is a hard practice for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm going to go without emotion.
Yeah. And again, this isn't just in a personal, this isn't just in an intimate relationship. This is coworkers.
Yeah.
Boss.
How does this show up at work?
Yeah. How does this show up at work?
When you get, come to think of it, I had a CEO a couple years ago, and I reported directly to the CEO of a company, and I was doing a takeover and turnaround of an IMAX theater from the ground up. We got rid of all the employees. We're bringing in an entire new team. It was like a total, and it was my first time doing it. So I'm kind of my first time at that level because it was literally ground up. Another one, I just went in and they had already changed management, but they were running amok for 6 months without a leader, which was a different kind of fix. But it was so stressful in that job, and I would break down crying. And I called my CEO. I'm like, you have to send me help. I need help. I am exhausted. It's too much information to go into. It was just a completely different culture and market that I went into and how people behaved. For instance, parents of adult children calling me going, why did you write my son up? I'm like, first, I didn't write your son up, and that was a supervisor. And second, well, this is not about you, right? So I called the CEO and he said, you're just too emotional. You're being too emotional. I was pissed. I got even more emotional. But you don't understand how hard it is.
Yeah.
And his response was, you're in the South. It's all about Southern hospitality. I'm like, you live in California. You don't even realize. This is not the South. We affectionately call Myrtle Beach the Redneck Riviera. I'm like, this is not the South. It wasn't. I'm sorry, South. I'm sorry, Myrtle Beach. You know I love you. It's a different world. It's a different market.
It's an isolated world.
It's a transient market.
Yeah. One of the other ones in this chapter, number 9, this resonated a lot with me, is women are not just dishonorable men.
Yeah, what did that
on page 165.
What did that
But there's a paragraph in here that says that operate by a different code. That we have not sworn allegiance, men, we have not sworn allegiance to your code and then flagrantly disobeyed it. We are loyal to an entirely different code. So, and it goes on to say, if you're confused by something we say, don't take it personally, simply ask us to rephrase. But that implies taking a little bit of emotion out of it.
That would require a man to then be emotional.
Or own up to slowing down, tell me more, diving in.
No, I've heard that before from you. The advice you give me.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Tell me more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That goes back to emotional intelligence in general. This on both sides, men and women. I think the answer in many cases is emotional intelligence. And if you don't focus on that,
this is what a lot of this is about.
Yeah. It's about being hyper aware of what's going on with someone, paying attention and reading. We do training in this, like reading their face and reading the tone and reading the body language and being able to go. I mean, I do this all the time with a certain someone. I'm like, I watch the face change and I go, what?
Yeah, which is great because you can read it.
And he's like, nothing. I'm like, no, what?
Yeah.
What? Your face just changed. What?
Or nothing? What?
Yeah. Yeah. I did finally get an answer, though.
That's good.
So it was good. It was good. There was approval turns him on.
Oh, you're jumping into the next chapter.
Oh, I thought we've been jumping all around, over. Oh, yeah.
We are.
Some of us.
Some of us approach this logically and linearly.
And some of us don't. Some of us are a little emotional.
I don't think that's a gender thing. I think it's just different styles.
Perhaps. Hey, you need contrast. In comedy, we preach all the time. Two keys to comedy.
Yeah.
Repetition and contrast.
Excellent.
Repetition is when we mirror each other to the point where it's funny. Contrast is when we have opposite.
So what was the one you mentioned? Approval?
This would be page 180 of your slow sex book.
Yes. I'm going slowly. Go
slow. Approval turns him on. Approval, yours, is all he is looking for. Really? Mm-hmm. Is this true?
Yeah, this is true.
When a man can feel a woman's genuine acceptance of who he is, this really was a key section for me. Her pleasure in what he's doing for her, he lights up like the Eiffel Tower.
Yeah. Yeah.
He will immediately try to figure out what he did to deserve it, and he will do that thing again and again in hopes of a similar response, which is also an improv technique. That's the repetition piece. It's like a kid. Right? We talk about this in Sell Like a Child. They make you laugh. What do? They do it again. Mm-hmm. You laugh again, they do it again. Mm-hmm. Till you stop laughing. Yeah. But now they know what makes you tick.
Right. No, this is a great point. Again, this is the chapter on what women should know about men. You know, I had what I saw in here. The hard part is growing up as a woman. You were taught that showing too much approval would bring you unwanted attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's fascinating.
And yet, that is what, as a man, we seek.
Right.
Is approval.
Right. Yeah. And now we see why there's so much drama.
Yeah.
So
we learn to keep our genuine turn-on hidden, all the while manufacturing false turn-on in order to get what we want. That goes into some of the things in that book, Pussy, about turn-on, and
I'm
what
sorry,
that
Derek.
is.
Derek's new to this. Derek, you okay?
Doing all right back here.
Okay, good. Back to pussy, yeah.
Which is always a great phrase. But, about your turn on, and turn on is not just a sexual turn on, it was feeling yourself, owning who you are. And, women have learned how to keep that hidden. Mm-hmm. And then that leads to not being willing to approve or not wanting to approve, being taught not to approve, being coy.
So let me ask you this. In all seriousness, I have tried the very direct approach with the male people.
Yeah.
Direct approach. And I've watched them run. They can't handle the truth. They can't handle, this is what I want. And maybe really what it's about is like, I shouldn't even be engaging with you.
Maybe that's part of it.
I mean, that could be part of it. And that might be how I weed out certain people.
Yeah. Right? I mean, throw it back to sales a little bit. Don't chase a prospect that's not a decent prospect.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We did that show a few shows ago about the pickup artist and the techniques, techniques for the pickup artist and how applicable they are to sales. Yeah, I'm doing my banging, and if there was a whiteboard, I'd write on it.
You're just pounding.
I'm pounding.
I know.
This means I
stop pounding.
Yes, ma'am.
Go on.
So, oh God, now there goes that train of thought.
Sorry. Derek, what was he talking about?
Oh my gosh! Wow. I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
Of course.
Yeah.
Thanks, Derek.
Yeah.
We didn't realize. Part of the male people.
He didn't realize he was going to be like counted on to keep our place here.
He's got enough to do.
Yeah. So, I agree. Whatever you were saying. Gina, what was it you were saying?
I don't remember.
One of the, you mentioned that last one about approval turning them on. One of my favorite ones from this chapter, there's a number of them, and what women should know about men is number 9. And I love this one. Men get confused when women withhold information. And there's this statement in here which I just love. Men are so reliably useless at understanding anything we don't actually say. It doesn't matter how loud we scream at them from inside our heads. We must communicate in plain words out loud. I just love it. And I can't tell you how many women I've, just like have been mad at me for something, and I'm like, I have no idea. And they're just screaming at me what it is in their head, but it never comes out. And I just love this. Men are reliably useless at understanding anything we don't actually say. So men get confused when women withhold information.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's when I read that one, it was like, oh, this is great.
Yeah. And I've seen this with women, including myself, because it's like, you should know me well enough to read my mind.
Yeah.
Or in the workplace, it's like, this is common sense.
Yeah.
In my head.
Yeah.
And you should know it. Why do I have to explain it?
Right.
And I've had friends who are like, my husband didn't do this, and why didn't he do this? And I'm like, did you give him really specific directions?
Or express the desire.
Express the desire. But he knows I need this thing. And I'm like, does he really lay it out step by step? Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
That's what you guys need.
Yeah.
Lay it out step by step.
Let's be simple, straight up.
Yeah. I did have a man say to me once, he's like, we're not that smart. We are men. We are not that smart.
I would say we communicate differently.
Okay. Well, okay. Any others that you want to tackle up before we wrap up this show?
Yeah, a couple, just real quickly, a couple of others that I love here from this, what women should know about men. And this is one that really resonates with me, not just from a relationship, but just from the gender wars that kind of go on today. It's number 2 under what women should know about men. And it says, if you want him to treat you like an equal, then be his equal. So I think
unless you're a misogynistic narcissist,
right? But
I mean,
right. But I believe that most men are not, or most women are not misandrous.
Are not what?
What is the opposite of misogyny?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Say that word again.
I think it's misandrous.
Misandrous.
I believe. That's
I don't
the
know.
Word.
I mean,
I believe that's
it
the
could
word.
be. I mean,
yeah, but it's interesting how it's known one way and not the other. Yeah.
Which one was that again?
It's number 2 under what women should know about men. It's on page 169. If you want him to treat you like an equal, then be his equal. And it means act and do. Part of that goes back to don't be the victim. That's a great one. And then one of the other ones in this, in number 5, page 173, about what women should know about men. And I love this one because I can't think of a relationship I've been in where it's like, don't fix it, just listen, right? And I love this. This is really good. And I think this is really important for women to understand about a man. Fixing is what a man does when he can't figure out how to turn you on. And down below, it said, this is what we need. This is what we know to do. And down below, I love this line. It says, remember that his tendency to go into handyman mode is his way of saying, I love you. It's all he has. It may be in a foreign language. It may be all consonants and no vowels. It's a bit clunky and awkward, but it is I love you nonetheless. So instead of getting frustrated at, you're just trying to fix it, first off, understand that that's a translation of I love you or I care about you or something else.
This was another pivotal one for me.
Okay.
It really was.
Yeah.
Because I never looked at it that way.
Yeah.
That it's more of a, I don't know what else to do, so I'm gonna fix.
Yeah.
It's this. We have this running joke at the theater when you're on stage and you've been given a suggestion by the audience and you don't know what to do with it, or you might not even know what it is. Like
Right.
when I got this suggestion of hydroponics, and I didn't know what hydroponics was, right? And I'm like, one of the things that we teach our students before they become performers, I can't know everything. I thought it was something water related, so I turned it into something about water. I don't know. And then someone saved my ass. We teach, now I've lost my train of thought. Oh, when you have nothing, right? We
Right.
call it when you have nothing,
Right.
right? When you have nothing, start washing the dishes or using a hammer and a nail.
Right.
But basically, we're saying go into a physical action without speaking and by time.
Right.
Because you don't have to talk. It's, again, going back about sometimes silence is gold and you don't have to say anything. You can kind of retreat back, which is a lot of what I have to do when I'm feeling like I'm going to explode. I retreat back because I don't want to regret things I say. Pull back. But you can do the same thing of just do something on stage until you figure out what to do. And so it's an inside joke at our theater when you see people sawing a log. Like that's like
Right.
something someone always, or washing dishes.
Right.
The other performers know, they got nothing, we have to save them.
Yeah.
And they will get on stage
Yeah.
and help it.
Right.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
I don't know what else to do, so I'm going to fix it.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if you think about this, and there's someone I spend time with, and this has kind of become a joke a little bit because it's like, that's so adorable. Thank you so much for trying to fix it and saying I love you. Now can you listen to what else I have to say? So there's this kind of recognition of what it is, as opposed to Gina,
stop fixing it.
Stop fixing it.
Yeah, we and both do it.
Yeah. And this one resonated really well because first I am a results oriented person, so it's real easy for me to just go like, well, if you do this, So this is a real hard one for me, but it was great to recognize it and see.
I'll keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So that I can help you through that.
I need all the help I can get.
What would you like me to work on?
What would I like you to work on?
Yeah.
Well, I think the one about expressing the desires, going from a complaint into trying to figure out the complaint from someone else and maybe figuring out, okay, what is the desire behind the complaint?
And then what would be the best way to then state that? I mean, is it appropriate to say, I need this or I need that, or like how would you express the desire?
If you're complaining?
Yeah, I'm saying how do you turn around the complaining part of it?
Right. Part of it is this, that technique we talked a little bit about, okay, just tell me more.
No, I'm saying for the person, the complainor.
Okay.
Right? For me, when I'm like, you don't do blah, blah, blah.
Tell me more.
No, I'm saying, no, I get your part of it. I'm saying my part of it, how can I improve that instead of complaining?
Yeah, I'm feeling that because.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah, how do you answer that question? I'm feeling that because.
Right.
So that's what you can do is instead of complaining, think about what is behind the complaint. Is there a fear? Is it, some other emotion that's driving it?
Okay.
And it's partly, and we talk about owning yourself a lot
Yeah.
on this show. So
Yeah.
own your feelings, own your own feelings. What is it that's driving that?
Yeah. Okay.
But this
I just wanted that's great advice.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you. I want us, our relationship to always make it better.
Yeah. And I was surprised, this entire book, it's some of the stuff's a little bit graphic as far as techniques, but I felt like these 2 chapters were just worth it. And at the time I read this, I was actually in a little bit of a bad place with somebody, and it's like, oh, I recognize myself in the, okay.
Did that somebody tell you to read this book?
No, it was actually very interesting that right in the middle of it, I happened to read this book, and it was.
And so I think we would highly recommend that you get Slow Sex, if for anything, just to read those 2 chapters.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to pertain to sex.
Right.
I think it's what you need to know about men and what women need, what men need to know about women.
And one last thing for guys, in the dating scene, there's a great, perfect advice here. Always present her with 3 options.
Oh, yeah. Can you read that real fast?
Yeah, this is number 10 under what men should know about women. The rule is, or the guideline is, she doesn't want to win, but and it also goes on to say, don't settle for letting her get her way. But one of the things about let's go to dinner. So you choose, and a woman telling that to me, so that becomes a little bit of a trap. And so my response, and I love it because I see it here as well, is present her back with 3 options.
Mm-hmm. No, I love that.
And it's an excellent dating technique.
I love that. It can be a little manipulative feeling. It could for some people, right? Like, oh, you're only giving me those 3 choices, right? I mean, that could be one.
Well,
for me, I'm like, great.
Yeah.
3 choices. I don't have to overthink this.
Right.
Okay. If I know that you approve of those 3 choices and I just need to pick one, we're good.
Yeah.
Takes the stress out.
But if you and I are going to go out somewhere and you tell me, Keith, why don't you just pick the place?
Which is what I do all the time.
That's a little bit of a trap for a guy. And so that's where responding back with 3 options is safe ground.
Okay, so I can see how you could feel like it's a trap in some scenarios, maybe not yours, in some scenarios, and I think a lot of women can relate to this, and men, that the conversation goes like this: where do you want to go?
Yeah.
Wherever you want to go.
Yeah, no, that it takes it away from that.
But I'm like, okay, I can choose. Okay, Olive Garden. No, I don't want to go there.
Right.
Okay, Antonio's. I don't want to go there. I said, then you pick the place. No, pick the place. And I'm like, I just did, and you said no. So you just pick the place. I don't care. There are those scenarios.
Yes, there are. Nothing is 100%.
Yeah. So it's time to wrap this up. The show. We got to shut up.
Okay.
Okay. I think Derek's got other things to do, and you and I have other things
Absolutely.
to do. We got people to see, places to go. We're in chilly Dallas. It's cold here. I didn't bring a coat. I'm freezing. But I love Dallas. I do. Special thanks to Real News for letting us come use the studio and
test it
out, play with video, which we're not used to being on, and having Derek.
How do I look?
Yeah, you look great. Having Derek, he's kicking us out. He's playing the music, which is our sign.
Yeah, there's the outro.
Derek's been our guy helping us out through this show, and it sounds like we gotta go. So thanks for listening to this episode of Women Your Mother Warned You About. To learn more about the show, or me, or Keith, or Rachel, you can go to womenyourmotherwarnedyouabout.com and find all that info. Thanks for listening, and some of you for watching, and thanks, Derek.
Gina, it was always a pleasure.
It's always a pleasure.
Okay.
Bye, Keith.
Bye, Gina.
Bye, Warners. Mr. Rachel.